What's going on, guys? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to make a video talking about the rematch between Sean Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis and seeing if he can possibly beat Dricus to regain that middleweight crown. As we all know that these two fought at UFC 297 in January of this year in a very close war between the two individuals. Dricus Du Plessis ended up getting the nod in the decision win over Sean Strickland, but in a very controversial decision win. Names like Dana White thought that Strickland won, and a lot of the other fans and a lot of the other individuals thought that someone like Dricus Du Plessis won that fight. So I want to break down the rematch between these two individuals and see what way Sean Strickland can capitalize on the mistakes Dricus Du Plessis made to ultimately get the win later down the road. If you guys enjoy the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to help the channel grow. We are on the way to 1,000 subscribers, and we are almost there. So if you guys could go down and smash the subscribe button, it would mean so much. It's free, and it helps the channel out a lot. And while you're down there, turn on the post notifications just so you guys are always notified when UFC content releases. But with no further ado, let's jump right into the video with a way too early breakdown of Dricus Du Plessis versus Sean Strickland 2, and seeing if Sean Strickland can capitalize on the mistakes Dricus Du Plessis made, fix his own, to ultimately get the win and reclaim the middleweight title. Okay, so as I kind of talked about before, it was a very close fight between Sean Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis the first time when these two individuals fought in January of this year, but Dricus Du Plessis ended up getting the nod. And one thing that Dricus Du Plessis was able to do very well in that fight was make adjustments on the fly, something that Sean Strickland couldn't do in that fight, as well as someone like Dricus Du Plessis. Now, the thing that is really hard about the UFC is even if you're doing good, you still have to make adjustments to kind of pre-adjust to what the opponent is going to do. And I feel like that's what Sean Strickland was not doing. In a very dominant performance, you're trying to stop the adjustment of the other person, if that makes a little bit of sense, because you want to be able to be one step ahead of your opponent. So someone like Dricus Du Plessis automatically started shooting for takedowns in that second, third, and fourth round, ultimately giving him the nod in those three straight, which was really hard for Sean Strickland to do. Once Sean Strickland got really aggressive, he kind of counter-adjusted to Dricus Du Plessis' adjustments. In that fifth round, he ended up winning it due to the aggression and the forward motion that he was possessing. But now, what can Sean Strickland do in this next fight between these two individuals? Because this probably fight is going to happen, I wouldn't say in December of this year. I would maybe say in January of February of next year would probably be my guess of this fight happening. Sean Strickland's last fight was at UFC 302 in June, on June 1st. And Dricus Du Plessis' last fight was on August 17th at UFC 305 in that main event. So it's kind of a little bit of a longer layoff for Sean Strickland and I shouldn't say a quick turnaround, but I would say a normal turnaround for Dricus Du Plessis. But what can Sean Strickland do? Sean Strickland is going to need to keep the pressure on Dricus Du Plessis because I think Dricus' style is a little bit conducive to counterpunching, and we all know that, but Israel Adesanya wasn't able to capitalize on that. And if Sean Strickland can put himself in a counter-punching style more or less in this fight, I think it's going to really help him capitalize on different mistakes that Dricus Du Plessis makes. Now, Dricus makes a lot of mistakes in the striking department, don't get me wrong, but Dricus is also super disciplined in his game plan. He also knows when he can make the mistakes. So against Israel Adesanya, the mistakes he was making weren't hurting him because he found the opportunities to go out and strike, which were the times that he could ultimately make the mistakes, and Izzy couldn't capitalize on them back. Now, Sean Strickland was a little bit different because he was peppering Dricus Du Plessis with the jab, and I think that was something that really kept Dricus at bay in the striking department, and that's why that fight was such a dominant win for Sean Strickland in the feet alone. If that was a kickboxing match, Sean Strickland would win that fight 9 times out of 10 compared to an Israel Adesanya versus Dricus Du Plessis kickboxing match. Dricus Du Plessis would definitely be a lot more comfortable fighting someone like Izzy because Sean Strickland's style is incredibly hard to fight. A lot of people can beat Sean Strickland in the UFC, like Jared Cannonier beat Sean Strickland in that UFC fight, but Sean Strickland just has a very hard style to fight against. And if you do beat him, it is by a razor-close decision. And that is what Jared Cannonier had. That fight was incredibly close. If you go back to that 2022, end-of-year scorecards, they had it 4-1, 4-1 to Jared Cannonier, and then 4-1 to Strickland, which shows how up in the air those rounds were, to have rounds that weren't even 3-2 for a split decision, but 4-1s. So I think that if Jared Cannonier can pose a threat to Sean Strickland, Dricus Du Plessis definitely can in that standpoint, but he's going to have to use the leg kicks. He's going to have to switch up the thing. Now, the other good thing that Sean Strickland has ended up doing is as he's grown his career, he's understood the importance of checking leg kicks, and that was something that he really utilized against Israel Adesanya because Izzy throws a lot of leg kicks, and we all know that that's kind of Izzy's technique. He throws leg kicks to set up his striking and then striking to set up his leg kicks, and it's a very fluid motion when he kind of does it in all. But Sean Strickland was able to check the leg kicks very early and very often. With this gives Sean Strickland the ability to, kind of hurt Dricus Du Plessis back with his own maneuver, checking that leg kick. So I think checking the leg kicks is going to be massive for Sean Strickland, which I definitely think he could do, and he's one of the best leg kick checkers in the UFC currently. But Sean Strickland is going to have to keep forward pressure, and I kind of alluded this to earlier, where he's going to have to keep moving forward in this fight, which he did very well against Dricus Du Plessis first. In every fight, you're going to have someone who's moving forward, and you're going to have someone who's moving backwards. And Sean Strickland's going to have to take the dominance in that standpoint to move forward against someone like Dricus Du Plessis. And that's what he did in that first round and that fifth round, where he got all that success in that first fight between these two. Is Sean Strickland was moving forward, he was being very aggressive, and Dricus Du Plessis kind of opens up when you move forward on him. When Dricus Du Plessis is the aggressor, it is very easy for him to find counter strikes and do that type of stuff. He's a lot better of a fighter off his front foot, rather his back foot. So I think if Sean Strickland can move forward against Dricus Du Plessis, it's going to exploit some of those different holes in Dricus's game. As I've said, Dricus is not a clean striker. He's got a lot of different whimsical movements in that striking department, which you would think will leave him open for different aspects. But Dricus is so good. He has such a high IQ. He has such a different way of defending takedowns and stuff like that, to where I think Dricus is one of the best middleweights currently, if not the best currently, as he is rightfully the champion. So I do think that Dricus Du Plessis beats Strickland again. I think Strickland is going to have to go forward the entire fight, which I don't think he can do against someone like Dricus Du Plessis, but it's going to be a lot closer of a fight than Israel Adesanya, and I'm going to predict it's going to be a really close fight, just like the first one, to where Sean Strickland could definitely get the split decision win, but I do think that Dricus Du Plessis is ultimately going to get that win over someone like Sean Strickland in the rematch between these two individuals. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fights is MMA, and please let me know what you think down below in the comment section about a possible rematch between Sean Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis. Do you think this fight is going to be fun? Do you think it's going to be boring? Do you think it's going to be a close fight? Do you think it's going to be a landslide? And who do you think is going to end up coming out on top? I think Dricus Du Plessis is going to win the rematch. Dricus has proved me wrong so many times to where I can't pick against Dricus Du Plessis anymore. I picked him to beat Israel Adesanya, and he did just that. So truly, I think Dricus Du Plessis is going to eke out a split decision win against Sean Strickland. I think Strickland is the hardest matchup in the middleweight division for Dricus Du Plessis. That style is really annoying to go up against it with that Philly shell, and Strickland can 100% take this fight, but I do think that Dricus Du Plessis' adjustments, his IQ, and his coaching team is going to allow him to get the win against Sean Strickland. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoy the UFC content, and please turn on the post notifications if you guys want to stay updated with the latest MMA content that releases daily. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.